Hello and welcome to the Power Lunch live show. So I've got my guests. I don't have my guests. We had 4 guests scheduled and none of them are here. So I don't know if the link that went out is the wrong link or what happened, but we're scheduled. So I'm here. So I'm just going to riff a bit. But maybe you are thinking, Michael, I should be on the Power Lunch live show and I don't want to wait until there's an opening. Well, we're live now. So if you go to that link right there, guyknowsaguy.com/PL PLNOW, like Power Lunch Now, then that will put you in the studio. And then I'll see your face. And if I recognize your face, I'll put you on the screen. If I don't recognize your face, I don't know if I'm going to take strangers on the screen live. Maybe I will. I don't know. It depends how nice your face is. But yeah, if you want to come on the show, then come on. Because for whatever reason, all 4 of our guests did not make it. I know one had a sick kid and one didn't get the invite, and the others I don't know. So I'm going to riff until someone shows up or until I don't feel like doing it anymore. And the thing I'm interested in talking about right now, because this came up in a conversation earlier today and I found it fascinating, and I would love your insights if you have any. And if you have really good insights, you should just come on the show and join me, because power of live radio is hello, random person. I can't see who you are, Facebook user. Hi. If you're someone I want on the show, go ahead and use the link. Oh, Dia's commenting. Maybe she's going to come join us. I don't know. That'd be neat. So I'm going to riff a bit until somebody wanders into the studio, which will be awesome. So I talk a lot about networking. Networking is my jam. I'm all about networking. I'm all about networking, and that's what I talk about. That's what my business is. And having ADHD, I've learned to focus and not get distracted, not chase squirrels. And then a squirrel ran by that I really think I should run after. I really think I should run after this squirrel. And someone just asked, how do we join? You use this link. You click on this link and you get in, and that should take you here. And if not, well, that's the best I can do. So here's the squirrel that ran by that I think maybe I should follow. Neurodiversity. This is all the different ways that brains work other than neurotypical. So it includes autism, it includes ADHD, it includes various personality disorders. I always put quotes around disorder. And it's generally talked about like a disability, like something's wrong with you, like you are broken. And maybe, I guess there's some silver linings in it, like ADHD, well, yeah, your life is miserable, but I guess you're more creative or something. But there's no one that I'm hearing talking about it like a good thing. Not true. A lot of people are talking about it like a good thing, but nobody's talking about it very loudly like a good thing. And even when people are talking, saying good things about it, it still comes off as a little bit of consolation prize. And I've found a whole lot of people that I know are wealthy and successful because of their neurodiversity. It's a superpower. And it makes me think that maybe I should start doing some speaking around the topic of neurodiversity as a superpower, because I don't think anyone else is talking about that. And our friend Dia Irby is here live from her car. Welcome.
Hey, I got in my car, turned on, had my phone, and beep, message, join Michael for Power Lunch.
Welcome to the show.
Nobody's there,
so here you are.
Well, nobody. You were there.
Well,
and
yes,
you were riffing, and I thought I would come to your rescue, but yeah, whether it's a rescue or not, I'm not sure, but. Hey, I am really excited to listen to. I saw that you posted the interview between Ahmed and
Iman.
Iman and
and Nancy Jutton. Yes,
Nancy. Ooh. So
yeah, that is a great interview. And I will never forget how to pronounce his last name, because his last name was pronounced a guy.
A guy. Oh, well, there it is.
So since I met Iman, I can now really say I'm a guy who knows a guy. Iman,
you are so right. I love it.
Yep.
It is true. And you are the network king. Yes, that is your superpower. among other things. What's your new superpower you just decided you have that you should speak about?
Well, so the source of my powers, my yellow sun, is ADHD.
Ah,
Because the reason I am so good at doing what I do, um, is that uh, is because I've done so many things. So ADHD caused me to not be able to really focus in school because I
mhm.
kept joining different clubs and whatnot. And then it caused me to not keep a job, not even get a job in the first place.
Mm.
So I have done many, many jobs, and I have tried many, many things and joined many, many groups. And I'm always overstacking. But it's in the first 3 months when you learn the most. So I'll often join this and join that, and never really commit deeply, but I'd be bouncing from thing to thing, which means when I meet an entrepreneur, I know a little about social media, I know a little about marketing, I know a little about sales, I know a little about health, and a little about wellness, and a little about vitamins, and a little about spirituality, and a little about mindset. And that's what a lot of them need. And my failure to hold a job has given me this crazy superpower.
You have just enough knowledge to be dangerous.
Yes, which is and like the reason that I network so much is that I can't not, because I'm like, I want to meet more people, do more things, meet more
Hey,
people.
you suffer from the same thing I do, FOMO.
Yeah, yep. But it's driven me where I am.
Right. Fear of missing out. I heard a new one, which you need to overcome too, but obviously you personally don't need to, but FOMO. Do you know what FOMO is?
What is FUMO?
Fear of other people's opinion.
Oh, yeah. I don't
Mm.
care so much about other people's opinion.
Yes. So if your FOMO is stronger than your FOMO, then you're overcoming it already.
Yeah. I don't worry about other people's opinion, because many of those people with opinions that are negative about me are just dumb people. No, I don't judge like that. They're just wrong.
They're not your people.
Yeah, they're not my people. They can go find someone whose people they are and share those opinions with them.
And if you are not making enemies somewhere, if somebody's not agreeing with you, if there's not somebody not agreeing with you, then your message isn't really strong and making a difference.
That was how I knew I'd finally made it somewhere important, was when I was reading LinkedIn and saw someone made a post about networking, and I said, they're totally wrong. And I can say so with confidence because I have experience in this field. I have someone disagreeing with me.
You have made it to the pinnacle when you have someone disagreeing with you.
Yes, when important people are willing to argue with you, you know you're important. So
that's right.
So
looks like you have some more people that have joined.
We do have more, and I believe Marleen's actually one of our scheduled guests.
Ooh.
So welcome, Marleen. You are here. Our other guests are not here, and that's fine, because I don't see many hosts would be like, oh, my guests aren't here, and why didn't they show up? And I create a platform for the universe to make awesome things happen, and it does. So this is what has happened. Last week we had one guest showed up. It was a fantastic conversation between me and Mark Later, the inventor of Biz Connectors, which is a company trying to basically professionalize the networking concierge space that I invented for myself and he invented for himself, and separate. It was an amazing conversation. So this conversation will be something entirely different, but we now have a bunch of people on the screen. Let's do some introductions, although I don't have I only have tags for banners for one of you. So we'll start with Marleen, because Marleen, I've got your website to put on the screen. Marleen, tell us about yourself.
Hi, Mike. Good to be here again. I think the last time I was here, I was with Dee as well. So, hi, Dee. Hey. Don't mind us. We'll just have a party right now, so you can talk to the guests. Happy to be here. Happy to network, as it were. So my service is to help college, university students, female students, and professional women within the BIPOC community, BIPOC meaning Black, indigenous people of color, to break the ceiling, to not have anything overtake them. So it's leading them to how they can use their voice, what they have, and to use their truth and speak their truth to what they also have in a way that can really, what you just said, Michael, the pain points and make that make sense.
All right. And a new on in, which is I'm going to get in. See the opportunity, seize the opportunity. Well, tell us about yourself. I know you're awesome, but tell everyone else what you're.
So, you know, I'm almost like a fly on the wall. If on Fridays, if I can, I try to pop in and listen while I'm finishing up my work day. I am one of those 40 hours folks. Professionally, I'm an attorney, but my brand is Divorce Girlfriend's Guide. What does that do? Well, we support divorcees around the personal finances and goal planning. So throughout the year, we have quarterly meetings with divorcees, long-term singles, because we're out here and we need support too. So I'm kind of the ringleader of supporting everyone through that process of looking at their personal finances, setting goals for themselves, and accountability. And I heard you talking a little bit earlier about ADHD and all that. Well, I'm a little older than you, so they didn't actually diagnose us Gen X folks then. So they always say, like, if we're still alive, we probably have it, but we were never diagnosed. We're really strange and odd and all that weird stuff. So I guess that's true because I work 40 hours a week. I do Divorce Girlfriend's Guide. And then I try to meditate occasionally and also offer other services in that realm too. So I'm glad to hop on with you because I'm always, like I said, on Fridays when I get a chance, I'm always listening in to see who you have on. It's always unique and interesting. And I always get some good takeaways. So thanks for having me. Hop on.
Hear that? We got fans.
Woohoo!
Yep.
It's like the hair club for men, you know. It's like you're not only the owner, you're a user, right? Like your fans are, want to participate too.
It's all about building the community. And Dia, tell us about yourself.
Hey, yes, I have been on before and enjoyed it muchly. I am on a quest to help people learn about building community in their leadership in the marketplace. What is missing? And I've got a new angle to it. What color is your company culture? Is it red, yellow, or green? And we can discuss that about because I'm creating it now. But people, the great resignation is happening. 4.5 million people have resigned. What can we do to fix that, and why? What kind of magnetic leadership does it take to keep people from leaving? So I talk about building your magnetic leadership so people don't leave, and making sure you have a company culture that's the right color. Does that make sense?
Yes. That sounds like a powerful thing. So when you say like the traffic light colors?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I started working on this yesterday. If I were to discuss what your company culture is like, if it's toxic, maybe it's red and you want to stop. And if it's kind of this or that, it's nothing really special. Maybe it's kind of a go slow with it yellow. But if it's a growing, like green is a growing color of plants. If it's green, then you have a healthy, growing, supportive, nurtured environment. So how does that resonate, or does it? Do you agree with me, or maybe somebody disagrees with me, and then I'll have a good point. What do you think? Anybody?
It sounds like a solid starting point. And then it's how do you get from green, red
how do you
to
get
yellow,
from red to green?
Yep. But I think that's a huge thing in terms of we talk about psychological safety and acceptance, and this is my inspiration, which is newer than yours. Well, I've been talking about the neurodiversity superpowers for a while, but thinking about like moving that more front and center is that idea of if you let people be who they are, you'll make more money and they'll be happier, which I think would be part of what would put you in the green, is create a space where and it's not just about like, oh, your people should be happy because it's the right thing to do. No, it's your people should be happy so they don't leave, because replacing people costs a lot of money. And your people should be allowed to work the way they want to work because you're leaving money on the table, because this guy who could be a rock star engineer is a mediocre engineer because you keep putting him in meetings that he hates, and then it takes him an hour to decompress before he can get back to work. And, those kinds of things. So I think that could be, I think that's a very valid concept.
Totally. It's all about boosting the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
If your culture is right, then everybody that's working is working in their optimal space, their superpower themselves, in their as Gay Hendricks called it, your zone of genius.
Mm-hmm.
Not your zone of incompetence or competence or even excellence, but your zone of genius.
Mm-hmm.
So why would somebody want to leave a company if they're able to operate in their zone of genius?
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, I mean, the colors you're mentioning are red, yellow, and green, but I think green is where it's at, right? When
Yes.
you think the word green and employment, you're thinking dollars.
Oh,
You talk about
thank you.
4.5 million people resigning from where they're at because the money doesn't make sense for the labor that they're putting into the work that they're doing. I'm sorry, but I'm union, so it's a very touchy area for me. The consumer price index says, inflation is about 8%. And, you're lucky even at the negotiating table if you can get a 1% increase in, as we all know, we're all going through this inflation. So, green isn't just about the happiness of, what made you happy that day with the toxic boss that you're dealing with. It's about the dollars. And we're in an economy now where the dollars aren't making any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I know, Mike, you've waxed on about the gas prices here and there in different conversations. I don't know if that's what we're going to talk about today, but that green there for me, we talk about, and we're in the age now at post, George Floyd, of the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, which, I kind of wink an eye at. I've been in this field for 25 years, and now somebody wants to talk about how they're going to include me after all 25 years. As you break your way through the doors and try to tell people, no, I'm not the janitor here. I actually am the attorney in this case today. So there's so many elements that go into that. And I like the idea of that, building that community and just really having the conversations. And I think that's what we're seeing here where I'm at. It's like more people just wanting to have the conversation. That person that doesn't look like you, sit down and talk to them for a few minutes and find out what they're about. You might learn something interesting from that one conversation that you would have never taken the time for in the past to have a conversation with that person before.
Exactly. It's all about that. It's all about going away from the preconception of what it can be and having that conversation to really validate what they think, to really say, hey, this is what I'm all about, as opposed to you just, you're Black, you're a woman, whatever. So getting rid of those preconceived notions, getting away from that, and really including. So it's not about diversity and inclusion. It's also about equity. It's all about confirmation. It's also about all those things, because there's more and more of that happening now. So I think we are in the right space to push the envelope and have that in people's faces, because it's, I don't want to say hot ticket, even though it is, but now it's like, let's take advantage. This is a hot ticket. Let's make ourselves known. Let's show them what the hot ticket's all about, with the green and the red and the yellow and every color.
Yeah. I really do appreciate your pointing out that green can stand for money, because if you have the right culture, you're going to boost your bottom line. And that's really what matters if you own a business. If you aren't making any more money, then why are you in business? I mean, if you're losing money, you're not doing your job just to have a place for people to be happy. You got to be profitable or you're not going to stay in business.
Yep. What
So-
I think it's been the mistake in the DEI messaging in the past is that it's presented as the right thing to do as opposed to the profitable thing to do. Because the right thing you do once you're profitable. You know, if we're losing money but we're saving the earth, well, unless you're a nonprofit, it's not going to work, because eventually you'll be closing the doors and someone else is going to take over. But if you can present it as profitable and right, well, that's a no-brainer. Make more money and do the right thing. Okay. And I think that's like I know someone who runs a diversity recruiting agency. And one of the things he does, he finds companies that have really embraced DE&I, where they don't just say it, it's not just on their website, like they actually do it. And so he places highly in-demand people of color in these companies, because the challenge they have is, once I get there, what am I going to find? Because all of them talk a good game. So his brand is finding the companies that are going to give them a good home, and then they're going to stay. And these are, six-figure employees. These are C-level and vice president level, director level. I think that I don't know corporate talk, but high up people who are very expensive to get and expensive to keep and expensive to replace that they want. So being serious about inclusion, not just diversity, is a competitive advantage, because they have access to this talent pool that other companies don't get access to, and that spells green. So it's so presented that way, that's what's going to get people's attention. That's again what I'm thinking about. And I'm resistant to branching out into my business in a different direction, but I really think I should probably talk more about this whole neurodiversity as well, and the money in that, because apparently no one else is talking about it. So I guess I have to.
Well, there you go. That's your new, because you can't stick with any one thing for long enough. I said to somebody the other day, I wonder if I have ADHD, and they go, "Yeah, think." So yes, I am old enough that it wasn't even in the radar of diagnosing also. So yes. Well, my 5 points, my 5 facet leadership of my whole spiel that I talk about is claim. And when you people don't just want to be connected, they want to be claimed, and those facets will cover the listening to and acknowledging. The C is chosen. People need to know that they are selected to be there, and loved, meaning it's a secure environment and they're respected for their personhood. Acknowledged, the A is acknowledged, where they know that someone sees them for who they are, their gifts are acknowledged, their what they bring to the table, their needs are acknowledged. And the I is invested in by investing time and just hearing them and listening to them, or investing in training or resources or a raise. That's always helpful. And then the M means that they matter, that they're made for greatness, for who they are, what they bring to the table, that only they can bring to the table, means what the greatness that they bring is being who they are. So all of that put together are my 5 points of my building community. And I'm just working on how to best present that in the most effective way, and in a way that people can apply. And if you have a leadership that embraces those 5 facets, you're going to be magnetic. People are going to want to be around you and with you and work with you. That's my opinion, and I would love to hear somebody say otherwise, so I can, tweak it.
I remember you saying that last time we were on as well, D. I remember that. I'm like, hey, I know what it means. I know that. I know what it means. And it's true. It's all about recognition. It's all about helping people recognize your worth and your work and all of that. Because every month is something. I'm sorry. So January was Martin Luther King Day. February's Valentine's, so that's Heart Month. I think last month was Asian Heritage Day or something like that. All this to say, don't ignore what's right in front of you. Really intently and attentively seek it out so that you can have those different ideas on the table. There's not one way to do a thing. There's different facets. So look at it and recognize it so that you can, again, increase your profit, because it's all about profit. This is business, people. At the end of the day, it's all business.
Right.
So can I play devil advocate for a second? So this week, it might have even been yesterday or the day before. I don't know. I'm constantly on the go. We all heard, it's like that Depp Heard decision came down, and Elon Musk was salty, I think, because he came down and he said to all his employees at SpaceX, everybody needs to come back in 40 hours a week physically. And if you're not here physically 40 hours a week, then you're not on this payroll anymore. What an abrupt shift, right? Even in my world, we're still working hybrid, even though courts are open full time now. We're able to work 2 days a week at home, 3 days in the office for many of us. And I think that's consistent through a lot of different markets still. Some people were going to come back in a couple of months, I think, down in New York City. That's what an employer says. And when you're not unionized, you either show up for that SpaceX job and put that 40 hours in, even though you've been doing it effectively for the last 2 years from home, or you obviously get a headhunter and you start looking for the next, computer programming job that you're going to do for somebody else. So where's that in the context where you have such a big influencer like Elon Musk doing something like that really can influence a lot of other businesses in a negative way, I'd say.
Right. Well, he's not acknowledging the people and the productivity they were able to have without physically coming into the business. So he's missing that element. If in fact he did that at SpaceX, I'm sure he did.
Well, and the thing is also, there's a whole lot of people out there who make a lot of money headhunting, poaching people out of companies and put them in other companies. And so he basically just put up a big target and said, hey, a whole bunch of our employees are about to get unhappy real quick. So, a whole bunch of recruiters probably just went on LinkedIn and searched for works at SpaceX. And I bet everyone who works at SpaceX just got a couple of offers saying, we offer remote work in case that's important to you. So, all those people who are not working there anymore, the thing is, if people are recognize their own market power, then they become almost a union of one. They can exert, obviously having a union means you have combined power and more leverage and don't have to leave your job and disrupt and move and everything else. But if people realize that they can have another job, it forces up the wages. I'll never forget this past January 2021, back when I was driving DoorDash, I was making about $24 an hour, and great job. I sit in my car, listen to audiobooks, podcasts, and occasionally have to get out to put food on a doorstep for $24 an hour. And I'm being handed food through the window at McDonald's, and I know they're making $12 an hour at a job where they're standing there. It's January, so they've got a warm room behind them, cold air blasting their face. If they're not there, they're standing over a hot fry later, or getting grease burns, or people yelling at them. It sounds like you couldn't pay me enough to work there. Certainly not for $12 an hour. And I thought, if that person, if she knew what I know, which is that you can download an app to your phone and make $25 an hour as long as you have a functioning automobile, then McDonald's would be in a lot of trouble. Because if just 10% of their staff leaves, they've got a staff shortage. 20%, they're changing their hours. And all it would take is 5 of their employees say, you know what, I'm going to go drive DoorDash. I'd rather deliver the food for $25 an hour than work for 12. And this was January 2021. 6 months later, I guess they figured it out. Because all of a sudden, there's just mass exodus because people realize, oh, I could do DoorDash, Instacart. I can work online. There's all kinds of virtual jobs. There's all kinds of lead generation jobs, all these different things you can do for $20-$30 an hour from home, doing what you want to do, or at least something more, more pleasant. And And that's how the market, that's why suddenly 3 months after that, Target's coming out. Our minimum wage nationwide is going to be $15, $16, $17. It's not, they're not doing it because it's the right thing to do. They're doing it because otherwise they're going to have to change their hours, or there'll be like 3 people standing in the front of the store trying to manage a 20,000 square foot big box. So once people realize they have market power, everything changes on that. But the challenge is that people are really beaten down because their families, their friends, their employers certainly are telling them you can't go anywhere, or even just the you do this, you're fired, as if that's a bad thing. And it's not like you do this and you're going to have to go get a better job, which will totally hire you tomorrow, and then you'll make more money and be happier. So you better not, because then you'll be making more money and having a better life. So watch out.
Well, I think that's one of the things with Divorced Girlfriends Guide community, that we try to focus in on multiple streams of income, right? Because you've got somebody who might have been in a 2-income household, now a divorcee, or even we deal with folks who are long-term singles. It's saying, what's another means for you to make income other than your 9-to-5 job, which is your set, you're exchanging hours for dollars. So, in this whole idea of the gig economy, we encourage that. We encourage, selling products, things like that, so that people realize that there are more than just one way to make money. And, we get folks who are also closer to their retirement years where, they can't stand on their feet all day anymore. And so they might want to find something that they can do where they're virtually selling jewelry or whatever it is. So that's kind of some of what we try to support in Divorced Girlfriends Guide, is really looking at what your budget is for the month, thinking about what your goals are and how you're going to make those goals financially obtainable based on the income that you have in front of you. Because it's a lot of the education that we should have all gotten when we were in grade school and just didn't even get. And now, even as adults, we're seeing that, with some of the different organizations I'm involved with, we still have people in their, 30s, 40s coming and saying, I never even did a budget before, so things like that. So it's really what we try to support in my community of Divorced Girlfriends Guide. Is it a growing community? I can't say so much that it is, but it's a passion project of mine, and I've been doing it for 5 years now. So we're just going to keep the train rolling with it.
Nice. And Wayne asked an interesting question, which is, does an owner not get to choose his or her best choice for their model? And my thought to that is the owner can do whatever they want. It's their company. But the employees can do whatever they want too, because the owner doesn't own them. So, if your model is that everyone's going to come in and everyone's got to work here, they're not working here anymore, cool. Some people are going to leave, some people aren't. And if that's, I just like marketing. You want to repel some and attract some. So, maybe Elon Musk was thinking, like, with the culture I want in this company, I want people bumping into each other in the halls. I want them in the same space. And if that's not a problem, if that's a problem, then you should work somewhere else. I talked to someone who's recently who was running a networking group, and she described that they'd recently had to, what they say, encourage some members to succeed somewhere else, which is a very polite way of saying get out. But yeah, we're not kicking them out. We're encouraging them to find an environment they succeed better in.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Going back to Elon Musk, I'm trying to remember the date. I think it was when I was first on the podcast, Michael, and he was doing something with space or Tesla or something, and he had given a speech. It was heartwarming. It was empathetic, and it was so energetic that he said, "I'm still doing this, and I don't care if I run the company into hell. I'm still doing it." And everybody cheered and was so happy and da-da-da-da. And now switch the script, and now he's saying, "Oh, you have to do this. If not, see you later." So I'm thinking maybe it's because he has Asperger's, maybe. I don't know. But to just switch on a dime, it's very unnerving. So I was like, what is the problem? And this goes back to really getting to the root of what is the outcome? What is it that you want the company to gain, to provide, to have? Is it good employees? Is it happy employees? What is it that you want out of this company. Like, what is it? So I'm like, okay, he has a disease, so maybe that's why. But at the same time, it's like, is he confusing his employees by the attitude? What's the bottom line? Is there a bottom line in his mind?
Well, I think also, yeah, I think that the same things that make him sometimes say awkward things in public are the reasons he's a billionaire and why we hear about it. If he didn't have the traits that make him awkward in public, we wouldn't be hearing him in public, because that's how he's a multiple 9-figure founder. Because he has those traits, he sees the world differently, which gets back to my neurodiversity superpowers. But that then means that at scale, at a certain point, and no, he may not recognize this weakness. He may think he communicates just fine, and he may not realize he's stepping on toes and offending, or maybe he is and doesn't care. And
I mean, the great thing for him is that Tesla and SpaceX, they don't need any marketing, right?
Yeah.
You just say those names. I have a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old. I mean, say those names to them and tell them they have the potential to get a job there at 20 and 21 years old, or however old. And they probably at that age, you're right, you still don't even care about what you get paid. And you may, like my sons, they went to engineering high schools, so it's like they could have the skills that he already wants and pay them whatever, because they're 20 something. And then, even in my career, it's like, you have folks like us who are now doing the same job as new attorneys who are 24 and 25 coming in. Our expectations are higher, right? We have mortgages to pay.
Yep.
We got college potentially to have to pay for, car insurance for our teenagers to pay for, so our expectations are that much higher. And our desire, I think, for workplace creature comforts are higher, right, than that 20 something that's just starting out. So yep. I get it, in terms of perspective. Well, but it's a hard pill to hear someone of that caliber telling folks, hey, get back in here.
Well, and the thing about Elon Musk and SpaceX and Tesla, I think anyone who went to work at either of those companies is like, I was surprised at how forcefully they treated me. Really? Like it's not like, I mean, it's one thing when someone's all bunnies and rainbows in public, and then in the company they are brutal to their employees. Whereas I think Elon Musk is pretty clear with, we're here to get stuff done. And if you can handle that, like, we're going to get stuff done. You're going to work hard. You're going to do what we tell you. And if it means sometimes you're at home and sometimes you're not at home and sometimes you're in space, whatever, you're doing what we tell you, because we're on a mission to save humanity. And if you're on board with that, sign on up, come on in. And if you're not, well, it's pretty clearly on the tin. Like, it's pretty, I don't think anyone's surprised if, like, what? I have to work long hours at SpaceX? I had no idea. It seemed like such a cushy place. It seemed like a place with unlimited vacation. I never knew. One of
my cousins actually worked there. He's from here, and he had moved out there for a couple of years. He actually came back this way for personal reasons. But the way he described it, he had a blast, because he worked in the aerospace industry. So it was when they were trying to get their first rocket up.
Oh yeah.
So he had a blast while he's out there. He said, like, at least one of the parties that they hosted was just over the top, great
Work hard, play hard.
Yeah. So.
And so this is such a hot conversation that it shut down Dia's phone. That's where she went.
I see. Sorry, my phone overheated and shut down. Woo! It's a Friday.
Woo!
I call it freaky. It's not Friday the 13th, but I've been calling today Freaky Friday, and this is a testament to it, that I ended up, the show I normally listen to, I ended up on it today. So I appreciate you having me on. And
I was thinking about, like, this is the living in the future as we do. Yeah, we don't have flying cars, but you could be in your car and say, oh, look, a live show is opening for a guest. Let me just hop on there, and then be in public where people can watch it. We've had more engagements onto this show than we have before. So apparently I should just stop scheduling. I should just throw the doors open every week and see what wanders in. Because apparently that's much more exciting to the audience than, like, scheduling guests. But yeah, it's really, like, it's very very much that's the way I live. Stuff happens and we just kind of do whatever and it'll be fine. And I'll put a link out of the, put a link on the screen, see who wanders into it, and it's good times. I've thought about doing that before. I've never actually executed on it. So I'm really glad I did.
Maybe once a month.
Yep. Well, and it's not uncommon that we'll have two people who don't make it for whatever reason. Kid gets sick or they didn't get the email or I know at least one of our guests messaged me and he's like, yeah, sorry I didn't reply. I'm like, that's fine. You don't need to reply. You need to show up. Show up to where? The link that I sent you. You need to click on it. What link? Because for those of you who have not been on the show, Catherine, what I now do is I use Google Invite. So I use a Google Calendar. So it's on their calendar if they click the add to calendar button, and on that is the link to get into the studio and and it saves me the trouble of having to send separate emails to everybody.
Yeah.
And I think it sends an email with all that information to everybody. But if you don't get that email or whatever, then you might not get the studio invite. In which case,
yeah,
I'm not organized. I'm not organized enough to keep track of it. So if somebody doesn't show up for their spot and then reapplies, I'll just treat them like a new application, and they'll probably get booked for July, and they'll have a chance to show up again. And whatever happens, happens.
Well, it's a great show. I've been watching for a while now. Like I said, on Fridays when I can, and I happen to be able to watch today, But yeah, things do get lost in email. That's for sure. I'm guilty of having an email account that has like 80,000 unreads. I have another one. I think I'm up to like 5,000. What's the answer, Mike, for this? I mean, how do we overcome the email onslaught? I mean, so much stuff gets lost in there. I probably lost a birth certificate in there for all I know.
This is why I started doing calendar invites instead. I believe it was actually James Hipkins' idea. To your credit, I think that was him. But so I started doing calendar invites instead of just sending an email. Because if you send an email, it gets lost. You do a calendar invite. If you're using Google Calendar, it'll actually show up, in the inverted "you haven't replied yet" thing. And if you're not using Google Calendar, I think Google Calendar interfaces to the other calendars, so it'll show up on your calendar. And even if not, in the email, there's a button to add this to your calendar or something like that. So I mean, some of it's a matter of using those other platforms. The problem is we keep getting platforms that are cleaner communication, and then they clutter it up with more communication.
Well, this is my first time on StreamYard. It was very easy to access. Like when you said just plug that in, and I was like, oh, okay, it's StreamYard. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but yeah, texting is still pretty good if you text someone, but now they're starting to mark it on text. And so that's going to get cluttered. Facebook Messenger is still pretty clean. There's not too much detritus on there. LinkedIn has spam built into it. That's an interesting feature, the LinkedIn Messenger, because anyone can get a LinkedIn premium account and send you in-mail. And those are sponsored spam messages, which is fun. But for the most part, again, there's not a high traffic of it. So, but that is the big challenge, is how do we manage the volume of communication without getting overwhelmed by it? And I'm still figuring that out. And of course, meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out my business and trying to manage the volume of my business without getting overwhelmed by it. Forget about the volume of communication on top of that. Mostly I'll scan messages as they come in, and there's a bunch of lists I'm on that I like to read if I have time, but if I don't, I will
delete.
Yeah,
right?
It'll come again tomorrow. Not ready.
Yeah, I'm thinking about just deleting like 80,000 messages. That's the thing with that one account I have. You can't just go in and click the one box and then delete all 80,000. Like if you click it, it'll delete like 100, and then you can do like another 100. I gotta come up with a better system.
Well, if they really wanted to connect with you and they see that you didn't respond, they'll come back. Oh, what happened? I'm following up. But right, it's a two-way street. It's not just on Michael. It's not just on Catherine. It's, hey, you have to get some accountability and responsibility as well. So,
yeah, I sent you an email. Why didn't you respond? Because you sent me an email. A single email. Yeah.
Went to spam and went to spam.
Yep.
What's the saying? Tell them what you're gonna do what you're gonna do, and then tell them again what you did, or
Yeah.
something like that, right? It's like you know, there's the constant. I know when we're scheduling a lot of our events, you know, we do like the 2-week event notice, and then we'll do the 2-day, and then we do the 2 hours before. That's kind of like what we do, the 2, and 2. And, you know, that seems to be effective without overkill.
Yep.
And then, you know, in that last window of time when we're having an event coming up, you know, I'll start reaching out with people one-on-one, you know, to kind of say, hey, what's going on? Because you want that engagement, right? For me, I do an annual check-in in January each year, and you want people to show up because you're going Facebook Live via Zoom, and you know, you want a good turnout. You want the audience to be receptive to that. And then likewise, when we do our quarterlies, I'll do the same thing, just even though those are not on Facebook Live, just so we continue to have member engagement, because you know, people, there's so many distractions, right? And you want people to get the information that you want them to see. And for me, as a legal advocate, right, a lot of people will come to me and say, oh, I have this legal problem. But, well, I work for somebody, I do a specific type of work. So you could be my friend or my neighbor, and you might have a legal problem, but it doesn't mean I can help you with it. But if you come to my community and we're friends, like, you could ask me a question probably most times, and I'll be able to direct you to the proper resource, right? So that's kind of part of what goes on in my Divorced Girlfriends Guide community too, is just staying connected so that you're not like, it's almost like somebody who ends up, you know, having a knee injury. They don't know any doctors, and they have a knee pain, and then all of a sudden they remember, oh wait, cousin such and such is a knee doctor. I should probably ask them. We haven't talked to cousin such and such in 10 years. You're gonna go ask them about a knee problem now? So it's like, really, you know, keeping that connectivity and not just running over when there's a fire to put out, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and to what you're saying with the updates, in a group I'm part of, there's a hot seat recently where someone asked, like, when should we promote an event? Because especially in virtual events, the show ratio is much higher closer. So the percentage chance that somebody who registers will show up goes up exponentially as you get closer to the event. So if they register 3 months in advance, it's, I don't know, 4% show ratio. If they register 2 days in advance, it's 75% or something like that.
Okay.
And so she said, you know, how early should I do it? And the general consensus was early and late. Because if you tell me that you've got a live event in Boston on Saturday today, you know, today's Friday, you're telling me tomorrow we got a live event in Boston, I'm like, cool, can't go, busy. But glad I know. Thanks for letting me know. Let me know next time a little more in advance. But for someone like me, I need to know weeks, months in advance, especially if there's any travel involved, if it's a full day thing, even a virtual event. If it's 5 hours long, I need to clear 5 hours on my calendar. That's a few months out. But and then you send the reminders. So I'd like, send both. Do that. Save the date. You know, we're going to be doing this in 3 months, and then we're going to be doing this in 1 month, 2 weeks, 1 week. Because the other thing I pointed out is the people you really want at your event, at your speaker summit, your conference, whatever, are the ones who got to book 3 months out. The people who can show up to an event that's announced the day before, they can't buy your stuff. They're not going to be committed. They don't have anything to offer because they're free. If their calendar's open the next day, what does that tell you about them? Probably not who you want. I once ran a networking event, and
Interesting.
And it was not well promoted. So an email blast was sent out, like an emergency email blast 10 minutes before. And oh my God, the people who showed up at this event. There's one guy, he shows up. He's like, I'm actually retired. I don't really work anymore. I'm not really sure why I'm here. And I'm like, then why are you here? Why are you at this event? And of course, he had to take 3 minutes to tell us that there was absolutely no reason for him to be here. But, you know, the people you can get who are available on short notice usually are not the people you want to meet.
So you do want to have like a good timeline in between to foster that relationship, to build that connectivity, and then do, like I said, the reminders, weeks. What is it? What did you say, Catherine? 2 weeks, 2 months, something like that.
2 weeks,
So
2
whatever
days,
you said,
and 2
whatever
hours
you
before.
said, I agree with that, because you wait too long, and they're like, who are you? So I was interested back then, but why coming to me now? You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm experiencing right now with my own business because it just launched. I went through how many power outages, so I lost connection. So I'm doing a refresh this weekend and going back to everybody, whether they want it or not, because to let them know I'm still here and I'm still here for them, so that we can connect, so that we can communicate, so that we can collaborate.
Yeah.
Anything and everything. And then again with the summits, workshops, or whatever it is, and have that connectivity and follow up and connection in between.
Yeah.
Where are you based out of, Marleen?
I'm in Ottawa, Canada.
Oh, Canada. I've been up there one time to see the changing of the guard.
Yes.
Among other things.
Yes.
Great trip.
Yeah, that's a big deal here. Changing
Yeah, I
of the
loved
guard.
it.
I'm like, I don't know why, but hey.
It's like going to England, but you drove. That's how I look at it. It's a great town. Seat of government.
It is. But you're right. It is a government town. Like everybody, if you're not in government, you're in trades, and if you're not in trades, you're in tech. So it's one of the three. You can't be anything else.
So we are coming up to the top of the hour. We have filled the show. Actually, going against what I said before, sometimes you get really high quality people with last minute invitations.
Who have ADD and multitask.
so this has been a really awesome show. And as I said, why do I bother to schedule people? I just have them show up. I'm still going to schedule them. So thank you for coming. We're going to do what we traditionally do, which is go around the room and share your final thoughts and invitations. And Catherine, if you want to private chat me your website, I'm happy to put that on the screen so people can find the Divorced Girlfriend's Guide. Meanwhile, Marleen will share her final thoughts.
This has been great. It's always great to talk to you, Michael, when you're not playing the fool. So it's all good. It's like everybody who has said, it's all about that connection and that community to make sure that you're seen, to make sure that you're recognized. This is the whole point of this union right now. So my tagline is profess to progress. You want to do something, do it in relation to the job, whatever. Say it so that you can move on up and do what you need to do, because you have a truth to speak. You have a space to own. So do it, because it's the power that's in you that'll break the ceiling.
Love it. And Catherine, here's your website.
Gee, how do I follow that? Thanks, Mike, for putting my website up there. The guy who knows a gal. I've known Mike for a little while now. One thing he doesn't know about me is I did the gig economy because I wanted to see if it was effective. So I did it from 2017 to the pandemic in 2020. It was effective. And one of the things that helped me do was to help buy a cash house. So I live in a cash-based property now, and I rent out another property. And that's some of the stuff we talk about at Divorced Girlfriend's Guide, is supporting divorcees and long-term singles and gaining multiple streams of income. July 13th is our next quarterly. You can reach us at Divorced Women Finances. That's our website. And also on Facebook, Divorced Girlfriend's Guide is on Facebook group, and Divorced Girlfriend's Guide and Visionaries group is the actual group. So we're out there. Just plug it in and check us out. I know it sounds like it's geared just to women, but we have guys too, believe it or not. So we support everyone, and we promote your businesses if you have them on the Divorced Girlfriend's Guide Facebook page.
Nice.
Thanks.
Yeah. I was thinking that sounds like some really valuable stuff, regardless gender. So I'm glad to hear it's open to a wider audience.
Yep.
So, well, this show worked out fantastically, as it always does. I can claim no credit other than I opened the conduit for the universe. The universe sends things through it. My two producers, Serendipity and Random Happenstance, do a great job every week of bringing the right people here through whatever they do. What I do want to invite folks to is check out the Power 5 podcast, wherein I will be answering your questions on business, marketing, networking, sales, and life in 5 minutes or less, 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you go to that link there, then put your email in, then you'll get an email telling you about the new episodes as they come out. And we have 4 engagements. Thank you, Rosa. I just, in the corner, in the corner up here, I can see how many likes and loves we get. And I think 4 is the most we've gotten in a show. So we're not going out to millions, in case you thought you were about to, very famous. But we have a loyal fan base, some of whom pop onto the show. Thanks, Catherine. But check out the Power 5 podcast, guyknowsaguy.com/Power5. You can also should be able to find it on all the podcast platforms. You search for, I believe the full name put is Power 5 Entrepreneur Podcast, which makes it more searchable, because if you put in Power 5, you get all kinds of different things. And I also have coming up on Monday the Entrepreneur Summit for entrepreneurs who happen to be geeks. It is June 6th. It is 11 to 5. Yes, 11 to 5 Eastern time. If you go to guyknowsaguy.com/summits, you'll get a link to that summit and all the other summits I have coming up. And with that, thank you to our guests, including the ones who burned out and faded away. Thanks, Dia, for coming on. And thank you, Catherine, for jumping in. And thank you, for Marleen, for signing up and showing up. And you're all welcome to sign up again and get back in line. It's theme park style. You get off the ride, you can get back in line and get back on again. So this has been super fun, as always. See you next week.